Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is my replay of my Week 7 match with ImmortalMence. We did do a live comm of this battle, but it was like a 40-minute battle, unfortunately, so I didn't really want to upload that to YouTube. So we're going to try and do a post-comm and have it be a little bit shorter, maybe like 15 to 20 minutes. But if you missed my team builder, I'll tell you a little bit about what I brought. I brought a mixed defensive Polyrath, Scald, Brick Break, Power Up Punch, and Toxic. It's there to deal with Houndoom, Kabutops, and also have some Fighting Stab to hit the Porygon a little bit harder. I have a Banded Tyrantrum with just 3 moves. It's got Head Smash, Earthquake, and Sleep Talk. That's literally it. I didn't need anything else to hit his team, and I wanted to increase the likelihood of Sleep Talk drawing a powerful move. And it was there just because I needed something to nuke the Porygon if necessary. I don't really have a lot of other ways to hit it really hard on my team. I have a Life Orb Nidoking with Stealth Rock, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, and Ice Beam. Smacks his whole team really hard. I have a Greninja, Modest Nature with Psyche MZ with Extrasensory, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, and Surf. The Psyche MZ is there for the Venusaur. Can potentially do a lot of damage to it depending upon the prior damage on the Venusaur. I have a Scarf Thundurus with Volt Switch, Hidden Power Ice, Dark Pulse, and Psychic. I want this thing to be able to revenge a Salamence if it's got Choice Scarf or if it's got a +1 Dragon Dance boost. And then we also outspeed the likes of Scarf Jirachi, Scarf Togekiss, things like that. And then last but not least, we have a Calm Mind Mew with Psyshock and Earth Power, and also rocking the safety goggles to make it a better switch into the Venusaur. We can easily Calm Mind up on that thing, and there's very little that he can do to us as we start boosting up. So as you can see, he's brought Salamence, Venusaur, Rotom, Jirachi, Houndoom, and Kabutops. So the biggest relief for me is that he did not bring the Porygon. I didn't have many great answers for it, so I'm really relieved that he didn't bring it. It seemed that he was weary of bringing the Porygon because of how passive it can be, but just for my team, I didn't have a lot of awesome ways to break it. He was just worried about things like probably like Calm Mind Audino, which can set up all over it. He's worried about probably like Banded Entei and some other stuff like that, which I did not bring. Those all would have been good Pokemon, but I liked these 6 a little bit better. And otherwise, Venusaur is probably going to be the biggest threat because I don't have like really... I have a few ways to deal with it, but just depending upon its spread, it might be really awesome against my team. But I'm hoping that the Mew set can put in work for it. With the safety goggles, it might catch him off guard. And then things like Scarf Jirachi are always scary. Mence setting up is really scary, but I have lots of ways to hit Mence. Just not really good ways to hit it with like my Poliwrath or my Mew. Those are the 2 biggest threats, I would say. So, in terms of leads, I think I am just going to lead with Thundurus because he doesn't have a ground type, and I can Volt Switch against the entirety of his team. And it's probably not going to reveal the fact that I'm Scarf. I could easily be Expert Belt or Z-Move and still be leading with it. And he doesn't have anything that outspeeds me unless it's Scarf itself. So maybe if he's Rachi or something, I won't want to lead with the Thundy. Or, I won't want to stay in with the Thundy. That is if I wasn't Choice Scarf. But anyway, we are just going to lead with it, as he is going to lead with his Venusaur. Now, just easy Volt Switch here. I have the Psychic for this thing, but I'm definitely not in range. I'm expecting him just to stay in and maybe go for the Sleep Powder or something, because, again, Thundurus doesn't really threaten Venusaur right away, but he's actually going to double out into his Houndoom, which is definitely an interesting play. I guess he was expecting me to double into the Mew, and he wanted to try and trap me or something, but because I can get off that Volt Switch, I can easily bring in my Greninja here and just click Surf. He has a couple of pretty obvious switch-ins, like the Venusaur and the Rotom, but Surf is still, pretty decent. So I am going to go for it. And Rotom is a little bit difficult for me to switch into here. I am going to go into my Nidoking because if he wants to go for the electric move, obviously I'm immune to that, and then I can fire off a powerful Sludge Wave versus his team. If he goes for Hydro Pump, then it is going to kill me, but again, I don't really know what I can do versus that. Like, nothing else on my team really wants to switch in on Rotom. And, Hydro Pump, just looking down the Greninjas, is a little bit less likely, I suppose. Because I can go for a Dark Pulse, and Dark Pulse would probably do about 40%. So two Dark Pulses would end up killing the Rotom. So it would have been a big prediction from him there. And he does go for the Volt Switch, which is very fortunate for me. Now, yeah, as I mentioned, I can fire off a big Sludge Wave here, hits his whole team really hard. The other option is I can go for Rocks, which might be nice. But Rotom is kind of hard for me to deal with, I'm realizing. So I'm just going to go ahead and get off the Sludge Wave damage. Does like 68%, which is quite nice. And he is going to OHKO us with the Hydro Pump. So right off the bat, we lose the Nidoking, but now we can go for a nice Dark Pulse here. Very little can come in on his team versus this. And he is just going to sack it because, like we saw, he doesn't have an answer to it. So he is going to respond by bringing in Venusaur. And again, I have the Psychium Z just for this Venusaur, but I don't know what kind of Venusaur this is yet. And even if it's like just if it's an offensive, bulky Venusaur with only max HP, I'm still not going to do more than like 85% to it. I think that's the roll. So anyway, I am going to switch out here into my Mew, and we'll see what he goes for. He makes another double into the Houndoom. So he's again expecting the Mew to come in on the Venusaur, which is really nice. But I suppose he's not expecting a fast Mew. I did talk to him after the match, and he did say he was expecting Calm Mind, but a lot of Calm Mind variants are max HP, max defense. But I had max HP and then nearly max speed, specifically because I wanted to outspeed this Houndoom. And I go into the Calc. I know that it's not specially defensive because of the Volt Switch damage that it took from the Thundurus. An Earth Power will kill unless it's Shuca Berry. And it does not turn out to be Shuca Berry. We can kill this Houndoom. So we're up 5-4. Things are looking pretty nice. He goes into the Kabutops. So the way that he brings this in really has me worried. Like, geez, this thing must be Scarf, because he already saw that I outsped the Houndoom. And like, he doesn't know what my set is either. Like, I could be 4 attacks. I could be with X Rebel or something like that. Maybe he's thinking I'm some sort of Scarf set. And that the Earth Power is not going to kill his Kabutops, and that, you know, he can go for a X Scissor and do good damage, or maybe even a knockoff. But I don't know what he is. Thinking he's Scarf. Don't want to leave in the Mew, especially when I have a very safe switch in with Poliwrath. Even if he wants to go for Aerial Ace, predicting it, it's going to do like 33% max to my Poliwrath, which is obviously not a lot. So I go hard Poliwrath as he goes for the X Scissor. Again, kind of like making me think that he's Scarf. But yeah, there's not a whole lot that he can do here. I'm just going to go for a Power Up Punch because Brick Break is not going to kill the Kabutops. He goes into Venusaur, which is a nice play on his part. And I've gone into Mew a couple of times now. And the one thing that I am a little bit worried about with this Venusaur, he hasn't shown any moves yet. He hasn't even Mega Evolved, because every time that the Venusaur comes in, he just doubles out immediately. But I'm worried about him having knockoff and knocking off my safety goggles on the Mew, as well as just getting off a big hit. So I'm looking at my Tyrantrum and I'm thinking this thing isn't really that useful in this match, because he didn't bring P2. He didn't really bring a slow team at all. He brought a pretty offensive team, all things considered, because he knew that I was going to blow through his walls with the offense that I have on my team. So I figure I'd rather go into Tyrantrum and potentially get knocked off, or take a Giga Drain. Giga Drain does like 75% or so, and then the Bandit Head Smash does like 95% minimum to a max HP Venusaur. So I do go ahead and switch into my Tyrantrum here, and he does reveal that he has the knockoff. And this is a good mid-ground play as well, because if he did go over the Sleep Powder, I do have the Sleep Talk, which is good. But I'll tell you guys a little bit about this play as well. So he did about 20%. It's hidden behind the resume button here. Thanks a lot, Showdown. But I kind of miscalced here. I calced the knockoff damage as if the Tyrantrum already had no item. So because of that, knockoff it did 50% less than it should have. So because of that, I'm like, wow, what is this Venusaur spread that he's doing 20% with my knockoff? I'm showing that it does like 13%. And I am like, oh, he must be max attack adamant. That's the only way that makes any sense. So I kind of screw myself up here, because, again, I'm just like misidentifying what this Venusaur is. But in any case, I don't have any reason not to go for Head Smash. I could have gone for Earthquake, expecting the Jirachi, but even the Jirachi's not going to want to take a lot of damage or it's not going to want to take a big head smash. It's going to do a decent bit of damage to it. And the Venusaur, you know, it's such a threat that I'm willing to just go for the obvious move just to get damage on this thing. He can follow up with a Giga Drain and get some nice damage. But, you know, even if he's, you know, he might not have Giga Drain just because of the set that he built. And, you know, I'm thinking that he's, like, adamant. So he might have Power Whip or something, which does a lot less to Tyrantrum since Tyrantrum has such great physical defense. So anyway, just going for the head smash, like I said. And it's going to hit this Jirachi for a nice 37%. And he shows that he's red card, which is pretty cool. I'm not really sure what that was for. Maybe it was for, like, a Calm Mind Mew. It would definitely make sense. Because, you know, if I get up to, like, +6 or whatever, he can then phase me out. Or maybe it's for a Nasty Plot Thundurus or Dragon Dance Tyrantrum, anything. I have some decent setup options on my team. And he is going to phase me out there and into the Poliwrath. Now, here I could go into the Thundurus because, you know, he could go for Iron Head or Thunder Wave. But, you know, it's hard to know what this Jirachi is going to do. I'm still wondering if it's, like, Scarf or something like that. Like, he must have a Scarfer on his team because, you know, my team is just so much faster than his. He's got to have something that can do work. The Kabutops, like I said, probably it's looking like it's Scarf, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have multiple Scarfers. But anyway, even if this thing wants to go for a Heart Stamp, I don't think it's going to do a lot of damage to me. So I'm willing to let the Poliwrath sit in here and scout. And then, you know, the only other job that this thing has is to deal with Kabutops. So if this thing takes 40% from a Heart Stamp, it's not gonna put me in a range where Poliwrath does not deal with the Kabutops. So I'm just gonna stay in here, see what he does, and he goes for the rocks, which is a pretty nice play. And get the Scald damage off. Getting the Scald damage off was also important because the Jirachi was not yet in range of the Dark Pulse from the Thundurus, not yet in range of the Dark Pulse from the Greninja. Assuming that it's something like max HP, which after revealing the Stealth Rocks, I'm thinking this is more likely to be a max HP Jirachi. So getting that little bit of chip was really important. So that was another reason I was willing to let the Poliwrath take a little bit of damage. But anyway, he is going to stay in as I bring in my Thundurus, and he's going to go for a nice U-turn. Really nice play on his part, expecting me to switch. And he goes into the Venusaur, which, again, deals with me quite well. I can just Volt Switch into the Tyrantrum because, again, I don't want to switch into this thing. This thing's really threatening versus me. I could bring in the Mew, but I don't want to get knocked off yet if I can help it. And Tyrantrum is just looking like the least valuable Pokemon at this point. So he goes for a Sludge Bomb, which we do resist, but he gets a Poison, which is definitely a bummer. Go for that Head Smash. This is where having the Band would be really nice because, as you can see, that would definitely OHKO. But he's just going to go for Synthesis. And he's going to just stay in here until we eventually die to the poison damage. Switches into the Jirachi. Would have been nice to hit this Head Smash. As you see, we do miss and then do die to the poison damage. But as I said, the Jirachi is already in range of some of my other moves. So I do go into the Greninja, and I am just going to click that Dark Pulse. And it's going to kill the Jirachi. So game is slowly getting towards the late game here as he brings in the Kabutops again. So, yeah, this is still really making me think that this thing is Scarfed because this is not going to want to take a, what do you call it? It's not going to want to take a Surf that much because Kabutops has really bad special defense. He doesn't know if I'm Choice. He doesn't know if I'm Expert Belt. I could be rocking Grass Knot, which would, I'm pretty sure, OHKO Kabutops. And so the only way in my mind that he could bring this Kabutops is if it's Scarf. So I'm just going to once again make my automatic play into the Poliwrath, and he is going to stay in with the X-Scissor. And this is a pretty big turn here, if I do remember. He's going to switch out of his Kabutops, he's going to bring in the Venusaur, and I'm going to make a double into my Greninja. So the switch into the Venusaur was fairly obvious, but he's probably a little bit curious as to why I brought in the Greninja. Maybe you know, I could have convinced him that I was worried about Salamence coming in and setting up a DD, so I wanted something that could hit it up with an Ice Beam, which definitely kills, assuming that he's not Yachi Berry. But the reason that I brought in the Greninja is because I do have the Psychium Z, and I can hit him up with a Shattered Psyche and potentially take him out. And as I mentioned before, I'm still thinking that this thing is like a adamant set, which is completely my fault because I miscalced the knockoff damage. So if he's max HP, max attack, then this is going to do like 75% minimum. And so I do stay in here and I go for the extra sensory. And as you can see, it only does 62% damage, which really sucks. I really needed that to kill. This Venusaur is a big problem. I do have my Mew, which can set up on it, but I don't want to take a knockoff and potentially get put to sleep. The only moves I've seen on this thing are Sludge Bomb and Knockoff, so I don't know what its other moves are. So this thing is still alive, which now tells me that it's max Spadef, or really damn close to it. So he's going to go for his Synthesis. Nice play, getting back up to a decent amount of HP. Well, I'm thinking, okay, well that didn't work. My other plan to deal with Venusaur was to go into Mew and set up Calm Minds. So I do set up one Calm Mind as he goes for the knockoff. At this point, he's gone for knockoff, Sludge Bomb, and Synthesis. So I'm thinking his last move is probably Grass Coverage, more likely than Sleep Powder, because he does want to have a way to hit my Poliwrath, and it does a little bit of damage to my Nidoking. I guess knockoff does also do damage to Nidoking, but Giga Drain might be better. Giga Drain does more damage to Greninja, does more damage to Tyrantrum. So that was looking more likely to me. So okay, I'm thinking, okay, I can sack I can lose my safety goggles to the knockoff. This next turn, I am going to go for a Roost, get back up to full HP, and then the Venusaur reveals a Roar. And now I'm thinking, shit. If I can't set up with my Mew, I can't deal with this Venusaur, because I really have nothing else to handle it. I guess if we find ourselves in a last Mon Mew situation, that Mew can set up on the thing on this Venusaur and do good work. But he can then potentially take me out with a Salamence if it's max speed and he's got Outrage or something like that. And he could probably revenge me with what I'm thinking is a Choice Scarf Kabutops. So this Greninja is really scaring me. So I have the Poliwrath. That's not a very good matchup versus the Venusaur. I am going to switch into my Greninja because I don't really know what else to do. I do have Extra Sensory, which can hit this thing super effective. And I didn't want to go straight into my Mew, because if he roared again, I would then switch out into something different. I figured I can go to Greninja, and if he goes into Roar, then I have a chance to be put into Mew. And I didn't want to go Thunderous because I don't want it to take rocks damage. Poliwrath I didn't want to leave in because I wanted to keep it for the Kabutops, and it could potentially take a hit from something like a Scarf Salamence. Not that I can hit back Mence very hard, but I can at least, maybe try and get a Scald Burn or go for a Toxic. So Greninja just kind of seemed like as odd as it seemed like the play that made the most sense. So I am going to come in here, go for Extra Sensory, and I do get the flinch this first time. These next series of plays are going to be really crazy, I'll tell you guys. So Extra Sensory does have a 10% chance to flinch. And Mence was kind of joking in the chat. He said, if you get a flinch, then I'm going to forfeit. So we got one flinch so far. Hasn't forfeit literally yet. But again, just going for Extra Sensory is like the only play that I can do. Get this thing to as low of health as possible, so that way my Mew can maybe come in and get off a Psy Shock. Like if he wants to, be at this like 30% range or lower, like he can Synthesis on this next turn, get back up to close to full, and then I can Extra Sensory again, and then he can kill me with Sludge Bomb. That'll put him at the 60 to 70% range. I get off a move with Mew, get the Psyshock off, it does like 40%, and then he's going to pivot me around with Roar because he doesn't want me to set up. If it puts me into Thunderous, then I can revenge him with Psychic, and then if he puts me into Poliwrath, then I'll have to pivot back out. That would be the worst case scenario. But again, just the Greninja's trying to get this thing as low as possible. So next turn, get the Extra Sensory off, does 34%. Looks like it's narrowly going to miss out on 3 KO. He goes for Synthesis. I go for Extra Sensory, get a crit, which is really nice, and I get another flinch. So I'm thinking, okay, he's still not in a range where I can kill him, but I get one more flinch. So went for Extra Sensory 4 times. 3 of the 4 times I got a flinch, and then one of those times as well I got a crit. So if he was going to continue to synthesis up, he would have eventually won in this exchange. I would have worn down his number of synthesis, which is really nice, especially since he has revealed that he does not have Giga Drain. He has no way of healing up versus my team once he's out of synthesis. But, now I'm in a position where this Venusaur is not going to be doing a whole lot. So, really sucks. Every time I play Mence, I get some sort of ridiculous hacks versus him that changes the course of the game. And he definitely would have been in a much better position if this Venusaur was more healthy. So, he is going to not leave his Venusaur in here. He is going to go into the Salamence. As I go for the Extrasensory again. The better play would have been to go for the Dark Pulse here. I'm not sure why I clicked Extrasensory an additional time, because that would have done an extra 50% to the Mence. So that was definitely a bad play on my part. As he goes for the Dragon Claw and reveals that he is Scarf. So this thing is really scary, but I do have my Thundurus that can revenge it. I don't really want to mess around with this thing, so I am just going to go for the HP Ice, but he reads that really well and goes into his Kabutops, which has not taken any damage. So once again, he's making some nice plays. And this Kabutops here is really scary because I guess I can go into my Poliwrath, which has been my automatic switch in pretty much every time. But I think he's going to... I make a play here, and I'm going to switch into my Mew because I think he's going to be expecting my Poliwrath, so he's going to go into the Venusaur. So instead, I can go into Mew, I can outspeed it, and I can get off a nice hit. And I'm hoping that he doesn't go for X-Scissor. He doesn't really have any reason to go for X-Scissor versus my Thundurus. He might just be going for Stone Edge. Not that Mew takes Stone Edge extremely well. I'm trying to think. It does close to the same amount of damage as X-Scissor, so it probably is a 2-hit KO on Mew. So yeah, it's definitely a risky play on my part. But I am going to swap on out, so see what this Kabutops does. And he does go ahead and double on out into the Venusaur. So he could have brought it back because his Venusaur could then go for another Synthesis. It'd be in a good position, but we do not allow that to happen. Now he goes into Kabutops, and I'm thinking again, okay, this thing is Scarf for sure. But I can't go into Poliwrath because then he can go into Mence and start doing work. I don't want to go into Thundurus because I need to keep that thing healthy to revenge potential Mence. So I'm thinking, okay, I know I can take one move here from, I can take one move from Kabutops. Then I can go into my Poliwrath, wear this thing down, or potentially get off a Toxic on something like Mence, and then the Thundurus is going to be in a position where it can clean up. But it turns out he's not Scarf. This whole time I was thinking that he was Choice Scarf, and he was not. Talked to him after the dance. He was actually Swift Swim with Rain Dance, which is a really nice set. But he does go into the Salamence. I figured that might happen, so I do just go for the Side Shot because it was definitely going to kill the Kabutops at that point. So this, I'm mad I didn't make the Dark Pulse play earlier. I clicked Extrasensory instead. But at least this play I was thinking a little bit more ahead and wasn't just trying to attack what's right in front of me. So he is going to go for the Outrage, which is definitely going to kill me. And gets that +1 boost. And then I go into the Thundy, go for the HP Ice, kill the Salamence, and now the Kabutops is going to go in here. The roll earlier suggested that I could have killed this Kabutops, but he lives with a sliver of health. I was going to be able to get off a Waterfall versus me. If he had had Aqua Jet, that would have been pretty nice. But it doesn't really matter that much because Poliwrath can come in, it can wall the Kabutops, and kill it with any move that it has. So that's going to be GG. We're going to get a 1-0 victory versus Mence here. We can't deny the fact that those hacks played a huge role, and I'm glad that I won, but one of these days I would really love to get a match versus Mence where I don't hack them so I can once and for all determine who is the better player, because I know that Mence is a better builder than me. He's a really good drafter, and he just has such great foresight, like in trying to figure out how he's going to win the game. Like you can see there, after the Venusaur got flinched all those times, he could have just easily given up and taken like a 4-0 loss, but he was able to fight back and end up with a 1-0 loss, which is much more respectable, especially in this league where the number of playoff spots are limited and differential is going to really matter. like for us, we keep on getting these low differential wins. So we're 5-2 now, but we still have like a -2 differential, which is ridiculous. So we really need all the wins because we cannot rely on our differential. It is not going to be working out in our favor. But anyway, definitely check out Mence, you guys. I strongly recommend his content. He's an incredible league battler, stand-up guy, always willing to help with team building, and just is a good dude. And yeah, so that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to be having another match next week versus the Blackmont Cougars, and that's going to be a scary match. The Cougars also have a very good record, and they have a very threatening team. So make sure you check out that, and make sure you check out my other gaming and Pokemon content. So until the next time, I'll see you guys later.